Engaging in a hobby like collecting can be so much fun, especially when you share and connect with other people through it. You create a very specific set of things that speak so personally about you and what you like. No matter how small or how big is your collection, it's yours, and that makes it special. So for that and more, collecting is so much fun. Except when it isn't. Oh, the perks of collecting fucking anything. It doesn't matter if you collect Pokemon cards, Hot Wheels, Labubus, Barbies, Lego, or a very niche 1988 𝓲𝓵 toys from an obscure TV show with only 3 episodes. We're all in the same boat. Because there are certain things, very oddly specific things that are universal in the collecting experience. And despite the odds, we still continue to do it. So why is it that we put up with all these stupid things like scalpers, resellers, and overpricing? Okay, here's one everybody knows of. No matter what is it that you collect, there's bound to be certain people outside of your collecting community that sees your hobby as an investment opportunity. And you bet that scalpers not only have way more chances than you, a dedicated collector, of getting the item that you want, they will also resell it to you at an insanely high price. This is a problem that has been affecting the collecting sphere for quite some time, but I'd argue it has never been worse. With collecting being more of a mainstream hobby nowadays, thanks in part to the blind box boom, and collectors' willingness to spend more money on their collections, well, scalpers know this. They have scalping dedicated groups where they share with each other which collector items to go for and how much they can flip them for. You cannot even imagine the amount of jobless, talentless, uncharismatic people in these groups. I hate it so much. This, of course, creates an unregulated secondary market where prices can skyrocket in just a few days, leaving collectors outpriced of their own hobby. And I know that perhaps you may think, why is this item that can definitely be mass-produced so limited? Artificial scarcity. In recent years, many companies have realized that they can charge premium prices for regular quality items if they make them feel limited enough. A get it now or regret it later kind of deal. Because in order to incentivize such high demand from what it is a non-essential item, companies tell you it's exclusive, it's rare, it's only available for a limited time. Because there's only so much value you can get out of this tiny plush pendant before you realize how utterly useless it is. Mind you, not all the collectibles at premium prices have limited stock because of artificial scarcity. Some of them have a level of artistry that is difficult to reproduce at a mass scale, like a 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓵 doll. She's made to order because of the materials they use, the way they cast the doll, the amount of time it takes to complete one order, yada yada yada, you get it. But come on! Most of the collectible items that are trending right now have some sort of artificial scarcity element to them, although some seem more than others. On one side of the spectrum, we have collector dolls and figures with limited quantity releases, and on the other side we have Pokemon cards and blind boxes, aka gambling. Perhaps you're on one side of the spectrum trying your best to buy a collector Monster High doll from Mattel Creations, only to be outsmarted once again by the thousands of bots competing for the exact same doll. Well, no doll for you, there's not gonna be a restock. Or maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum and you have spent around $300-ish worth of blind boxes just trying your best to get the secret one, and you still did not got it on your 11th try. Well, tough luck, baby, there's no pity system on real-life loot boxes. It really doesn't matter which side you're on, you're gonna end up on the exact same place. The secondary market, aka eBay, aka Mercari, Depop, Facebook Marketplace, overpriced kiosk at the mall. Because, thanks to these companies and their predatory artificial scarcity releases, there is nothing but secondary market for these collectibles. And that leaves you, a collector, exposed to some unlikable individuals like scammers. Okay, so if you're one of the few collectors that has never been scammed before, congrats. Still gonna happen though. Because contrary to popular belief, you can get scammed in various ways. The most common way is, let's say, through Marketplace. You spot a very sketchy listing of a video game that you want, at a suspiciously low price. Seller says it can ship it immediately though, so you send him the money, and he in return sends you nothing at all. You got scammed. And this is kind of you though. You have to learn to be smarter with your money. But the second way, well, it is a bit more tricky to spot. So the second way you could get scammed is, let's say, through eBay. You spot a listing of an item that you were looking for quite some time. And yeah, it is a bit more expensive than what you were willing to pay for, but the seller said it's new in box and in mint condition. So you happily buy the item, a very stupidly expensive 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓵. So when the box arrives and you open it, you sadly find an item in a very different condition to the one that was described to you. It's not new, it's scuffed, a bit broken, it smells weird, and it has a suspiciously yellow stain on the box. You were scammed! You technically did receive the item you paid for, but in a condition that in no way justifies the price. Depending on how it happened, it could be on you, it could be on the seller. Either way, good luck getting your money back. These are some of the ways you can get scammed, but they can also send you a bootleg instead of an original, an item with missing parts, a different version of the item, yada yada yada, you get it. At least, if you never intend to buy anything at all on the secondary market, you're safe from these kinds of scams. But the same cannot be said for another issue that can affect you pretty much regardless of what you do. Thieves and robberies. Okay, so this is a problem that has different levels of severity. I would say that the worst of it is definitely the armed robbery of Pokemon cards happening on independently owned businesses that, unlike those big Lego stores that also get robbed quite a lot, do not have the insurance or the financial stability to cover those losses. Not to mention the immediate life-threatening danger for the people behind the counter and the clients that frequent those stores. But that being said, that is something the majority of collectors will not experience, including me, because we're too broke to own a business. But what could happen though is somebody trying to steal our precious stuff. Just imagine, you decided to display your lavabos on your car. Stolen. You decided to display your trinkets on your office desk. Stolen. You decided to display your pins on your bag. Boom! Stolen. And there are so many other situations where similar things can happen. I, for once, like to display my toys and knickknacks on my 𝓸𝓹𝓮𝓷 bags, and more than one time I have felt, mostly while traveling on public transport, somebody tugging on my bag, trying to steal my things, and every time I call them out on it, they play dumb, like, bitch, I know it was you. And that's when you wonder, why do some people are so desperate to get their hands on a collectible that they would steal it? It is almost as if some people have low-key, unhealthy coping mechanisms, addiction and hoarding. Okay, this is a bit complicated to talk about, and I know I'm not the most qualified to speak on it, but yes, some people collect not because it fulfills them, or because it's fun for them, or a cute side hobby they have. Some people are addicted, hoard stuff just because, and have very unhealthy coping mechanisms that reflect on their collections. I've seen many times people in collecting spaces confess that they just can't help themselves. They overspend on this hobby, oftentimes getting into horrible debt, and depriving themselves of other basic necessities, just to indulge in the dopamine rush they get when they swipe their card and buy something new. Even when they have no space for any more things. Even when they are hoarding boxes and boxes of sealed collectibles they'll never get to open, or display, or even enjoy, they still continue to buy more. These situations are a reflection of deeper untreated issues regarding the mental state of the person, and hoarding and overspending are just symptoms of it. Collecting itself was never the issue, as it probably did start out as a fun hobby, and then it warped into something unrecognizable. So just be mindful and take care of your mental health. On the other hand, we have young people that are developing a gambling addiction, and yes, it's not a problem exclusive to surprise toys, but blind boxes and gachapons are indeed a form of gambling. A form of gambling that is mostly unregulated, but yeah. So most people my age find comfort in opening blind boxes because they are not aware of the way the constant dopamine rushes and their probabilistic rewards can affect their brain and eventually generate an addiction. But I do believe this is a symptom of a larger issue, and while people continue to feel scared, unsafe, and depressed in the world they live in, they'll continue to engage in things that provide them with a little bit of happiness, even if it's just for a moment. I was not expecting to end this video on such a sad note, but I think I said everything I wanted to. After 10 years of collecting dolls and toys and other knickknacks, I feel the hobby has changed so much, and perhaps you agree with me, or maybe you don't. Oftentimes it feels that we as collectors treat each other like we're completely different things from one another. So we think, oh, Barbie collectors are so very different from Sofubi toy collectors, and Tamagotchi collectors are completely different from Lego collectors. And yeah, each group has its perks, but we're all fundamentally the same thing. Like-minded people that like to collect toys.